We will need the microphone.
Because we'll be...
Yeah. Do you want to... Θες να κάτσουμε σε καρέκλες? Όπως είμαστε? Okay. Okay, we're just discussing if we're going to use them.
We're going to put the chair.
We don't need
να
it.
αλλάζουμε διαφάνειες.
Oh, okay. Ναι.
For more fun. Αλλά μην το ξεχάσουμε.
Εγώ θα μείνω εδώ πέρα όμως. Δεν θέλω να πάω κάτω. Περίμενε. Όχι, πέρα το από κάτω.
Wiki.
Για δες αν αλλάζουν διαφάνειες. Θα κάτσω εδώ, δεν χρειάζεται. Okay. Well, so I would like to thank you for being here today. So we will discuss something that we are working. I am a professor teacher at the university, at the Ionian University, at the Department of Informatics, and I really am interested on ethics, on how my students can create, develop ethical tools. And along with Marius, when he is doing his bachelor thesis, we worked on ethics on the Wikipedia. Well, our main questions here that we are going to ask you things. We are going to put you some ethical dilemmas, and we will discuss about how do we want things to become and change maybe in the future, or not change, or keep some things, but just to think some cases that they're not actually so ethical when we are doing or editing things on Wikipedia. Okay, so we have the 5 pillars of Wikipedia. Marius, do you want to...
Okay, let's start with the basics, because we already said this as a basic thing. Because the reason we also examine the ethics is because of that. So Wikipedia starts with some very fundamental but very simple instructions of how it works. And the idea is that Wikipedia is an encyclopedia. That's all. This means it collects information in a systematic way. Wikipedia is written from a neutral point of view. I think I did a lot of discussion yesterday, if you were there, about AI and how important this neutral point of view on Wikipedia. Wikipedia is free content that everyone can use, edit, and distribute, and this is one of the core fundamental things. But the fourth pillar for me, it's really interesting, because from the very, very beginning, from the foundation of Wikipedia, it set a rule about behavior between editors. It set a rule about already forming a community. It was something that extends in a different area, let's say, a different field of interest, and says that Wikipedia editors should treat each other with respect and civility. And probably you remember already that in the past we had these discussions about editors who edit a lot, but they had a very bad behavior online, and we had these flame discussions on talk pages. And this was a big moment at some point that we realized that we don't really, okay, let's say in quotes, care if someone is really productive if he's not behaving correctly with the others. Because if he's deconstructing the structure of Wikipedia in terms of community, this is a big thing for us. And it was a crucial point that we put more weight on treatment online. And the fifth rule, which is the reason we are doing this today discussion and brainstorming, is that Wikipedia has no firm rules from its core. This means the rules are formed by the community. So all the ethical rules are going to be formed by the community. So.
Okay, so we will just present the Wikipedia policies. We're not going to say and put a lot of time here because we want to have our questions, but just remind you that they always treat each other with consideration and respect. Okay, types of harassment and disruption, of course, we have to avoid. To credit authors and ensure media complies with the licensing. Do not create hoaxes on Wikipedia. Please do not bite the newcomers, as we already said, respect. And now we are coming to what we want to discuss today, some ethical aspects. We have just put 5 aspects, but of course we are open to anything other that you can come across your minds, about accuracy and neutrality, conflicts of interest and transparency, the trust, bias and community responsibility, about generative AI and the future of editing, and of course the education and partnerships that we can have. So the first questions are about accuracy and neutrality. How do we maintain neutrality in contested or politically sensitive topics in CE? It's something very usually that we come across. I don't know if someone wants to say what, if you, from your experience, we don't want to say something that it's going to be a rule, but how you have seen things to go along and come across?
This is an interactive
Yeah,
session,
interactive
so
session.
you
Yeah,
really have to.
I don't know if you have seen from other communities how they work and you want to share that. Someone? Yeah.
From our neighbor from North Macedonia. So.
Hi everyone. So I think that every countries who are neighbors, they have some disputes about the history, geography, whatever. I think that the best way is to show the two point of views. So, for example, in North Macedonia, Goce Delchev is our revolutionary, and we started with that. He is Macedonian revolutionary, and then somewhere inside the article there is mentioned that Bulgarian thinks that it's their revolutionary. So the problem solved, I think.
Okay, someone else, maybe not just think about things that are just across countries, even in the same country, a specific event, maybe from different parties look at the different way. So it's not only for, across regions or across countries, but also in the same country, I don't know. Do you think that this is enough, that we leave an article to be evolved from the editors, especially if you have small communities that they're not so vivid or, so not ready to make changes or edit? Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's directly to this situation, but maybe general about the contests and the things that we do with the partners. So in Poland, on the Polish Wikipedia, there is a strict policy that there are no special guidelines, no special treatment for things coming from the contests or such activities, which leads to severe tensions. Because, for instance, you have local partners which come with the things that they believe that they are important, for instance, they are notable, but they are not considered that notable by the general public on the Wikipedia editors, and massive deletions or interventions happen. The same can be about the neutrality and the work of the wording, that removing weasel words and so on. So far we have and we keep this kind of a policy, trying to, let's say, combat this problem on a higher or maybe more fundamental level. So not talking about neutrality not only during the contests or some special actions, but all the year around. And just keeping them that there is no special preferential treatment during such a concert. Like it's okay that you are doing your campaign encouraging, I don't know, minorities, some local partners, whatever, but you still need to adhere to some general guidelines. You will not get some very special treatment.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, regarding maintaining neutrality, I think it's working. In the Wikimedia projects in Wikipedia, I think there has to be an admission that neutrality can only ever be a relative neutrality. So it's never an absolute neutrality. This this restriction has to be made clear. If we take a politically sensitive topic like COVID, for example, and vaccines, the vaccine topic and stuff like this, there is, of course, political interest in maybe downplaying the side effects of vaccines to not keep people from getting a vaccine, which is reasonable. But of course, if there is a certain type of media bias that the Wikipedia has to rely on, then this transforms into only a certain relative neutrality. And if we take this into account, if this is clearly communicated, so neutrality is only a guiding principle, but not something that can ever be achieved, then I think we're going to drive better as a whole, right?
Okay. Thank you. I think Anna also has her hand. Oh, thank you. Ah, yeah, we have.
Okay, I will do the moderation.
Yeah, this is a very complicated topic in the Balkans, and there's no solution so far. From what I've observed, I think because we're sort of quite partisan and quite on the opposite spectrums of the ideologies, and like similar as we see in many countries nowadays, there's so many polarizations, and sometimes we like to call it left and right, right? So I think that when we have a surplus of one particular group of people, then sort of trying to find the other ones, the other side of the spectrum people, to sort of balance things out, I think could work. We just need to be, you know, provide more effort for that. Don't know really how, but I think that could be one way to solve the problem.
Yeah, that's a nice idea to try to bring up more people here from.
Thank you. I think definitely I don't have a solution. I actually have more questions, and this is just an open call that this is an issue that is very important for us. I come from Wikimedia UG Group Cyprus, and I think maybe we are the only group that has so many communities within. And actually, I love how this session is combined for me through the previous one, because I was going to call it as a failure in a way. What I envision this group to be, you know, like bring all communities together, is becoming a very big struggle. And it's because of that, of trying to achieve neutrality. And sometimes we, the core group, that we have the best intentions of, you know, being inclusive to everybody. But sometimes we feel that we don't run some campaigns because we're going to create more problems. You know, like we are doing for the second time Wiki Loves Monuments, but it's so problematic for us, you know, when we have to put some specific guidelines of what is the name of the monuments that we're using, you know, pre-war, after-war, which language and all that. So, yeah, it's a big issue, and we are such a small island, but we have every kind of conflict in us. So we are open to any kind of support and guidelines on neutrality.
Okay, that's the issue to have more questions. We don't actually have the answers, because for us it's very important when we have our newcomers in our events and actions, just to tell them about what is neutrality, and sometimes it may be boring, but they have to understand when they have to write something, that they are not just only their point of view, and try to figure out even other references and sources that describe events in a different way. And I always give them the example from the newspapers many years ago, and some decades ago, that the same event was totally different described independent of the political party that its newspaper was supported. So we can say them that we stick about neutrality and try to understand them and give them examples from documents and articles that are not neutral. So that if they don't like it, then they are going to think about that, okay, yeah, this is not correct, oh, this is too aggressive or something like that. And I think that that's the idea, just from, you know, not actual education, not telling them, but just giving them examples that are not exemplary or case of studies.
Okay, what I want to add is, okay, we know it's very difficult, and that's why forming a universal strategy all over CE, I think it's obvious that we can't do it for many reasons, and sometimes they are beyond the Wikimedia movement. And I think that's why this discussion is important sometimes. For example, I will touch one of the heated points. It was the conflict between us and North Macedonia some years ago, for example. Even in the English Wikipedia, there was an article called Countries That Recognize Republic of Macedonia with its constitutional name. And there was a lot of politics involved. There were two different ministries of foreign affairs doing a lot of job undermining all the things Wikipedians were doing in a level anyway. And there was a lot of edit wars, for example, on this article, and some things were like beyond the Wikimedia movement to solve. Okay, we found ways to present the other perspective sometimes, and we know that ethics are not something like constant in time and space. They are changing, they are forming. The same happens, for example, with gender issues. That's why I said Wikipedia is always evolving, even if we already have the articles there. Because our perspective about, for example, inclusion is changing, we're also changing the way we were writing the articles by ourselves sometimes.
Yep. I would like to move on. We had just discussed also the other questions and later, but just to think about if you have some strategies of communities or they're just something that it's okay, working and evolving. And of course, we cannot say that we can have some guidelines for topics, but sometimes we have to give some, not instructions, not rules, but you know, this is a good practice, this is not very accepted. So, let's move on the next aspect about the conflicts of interest and transparency. And we can discuss how should editors handle contributions from institutions, GLAMs, universities, governments, and where is the ethical line between outreach partnerships and conflict of interest or promotional editing. For example, I will say you my experience from our first Ionian Wikithon event that we do it in our university. Well, when I asked them to think some edits that they could put about Corfu and stuff, they said, okay, we will make some edits for the university and for our professors. Was it that ethical? You know, it's something like, we were not actually there just to promote our university. We want to do something for the island, okay, maybe some events, some local heritage monuments. But the first thing that our students thought, I don't know, it was their professors. I don't know why they laughed so much. But so what do you think about this? You know, when it's the balance, when we have an event, a collaboration, and then we just upload things from this institution, is something that it could be a promotional editing, or we say that it's something that we actually wanted, so to share content? Someone here, maybe? I think that you...
When I started editing in German Wikipedia, they all said to me, never write about somebody who's close to you, which is your students, if they write about you, Eleni, they're close to you, because whomever we like or dislike, if we are close, it's very hard to write anything that's objective. And I always try to have this in my mind. It's sometimes difficult because you get to know people who inspire you and think, wow, they are great, and would like to give them or edit something about them. But it's something you should have in mind and maybe just tell somebody else. Like, if I have a professor, I would say to Eleni, look, there's this great professor and she should have an article, so could you please write one? Maybe this would be an idea to tell newcomers, because I think it's something useful.
Yeah, that's true. The idea that when you know somebody very well or you are very close, not write about him. It's something that we actually try to share them. I also would like to ask about this kind of collaborations that we sometimes have. For example, you may have a collaboration with an institution or for the monuments. If it's something that it's you know, it's something that you want to promote the exhibits, okay, but not actually promote in a bad way or for a paid editing. It's just something that volunteers came and they want to share, okay, let's work on our folklore museum or the costumes that we have in an area and just make articles and edits about these. Is this something that it's, you know, if it's very close to you, about your village, your town? No?
Zach. Not on. She goes faster.
This happens a lot. Of course, the partners also would like to use it as a way to promote themselves, and they see it very natural. But for our view, it's not natural, and it takes the very negative reaction from the community about the activities we do. So it undermines the activities of the user group if anyway the community feels that it's promoting any partner, although it is maybe a public institution, maybe it is a museum, still we tell them it's not possible to it. Still sometimes they try to add some photo of their organization, etc. But even in our community, at the very beginning, they ask that when there is an editathon or anything like this, you have to put in that discussion page that it is edited on such organization, and they will be treated like if there is a conflict of interest, it has to be checked. Now it is normal, it's considered as normal that some people are editing in such activities, but it is very dangerous for the organizers.
Yeah, that's true, and I think that time to time a lot of institutions are going to use our platforms for promoting tools. But just I don't know if you have across your communities the idea of paid editing, that you have seen people that actually pay, not Wikipedians because they are not, but people that you want to upload. And how do you treat this in your community? We cannot avoid it, of course, we cannot stop it, but maybe it's an opportunity to promote and give some tools to the communities to approach institutions, not in order to avoid paid editing, but just keep the volunteering feature and nature of our work. I think that it's better that we go to them and not someone else tries to exploit them or, you know. Yeah.
We had.
Oh, sorry, Anton. Yeah, Anton.
Anyway.
Okay, I have two comments about paid editing and about conflict of interest. So, paid editing, there is a lot of demand, but there is no supply. I often get messages from different people saying that, oh, I represent a big and prominent company and we want to have a Wikipedia article about us in Wikipedia. Can you please help us? Can you write an article about us? We will pay. And I don't know what to answer them. I don't want to do it myself, but I also cannot redirect them to somebody else who could do it right, following all the rules and so on. So they end up going to some PR agency which never discloses its activities on Wikipedia, which writes very complimentary and advertisable article, and the company pays for these articles the amount of money an average Wikipedian doesn't make in a year, and it demotivates them greatly. So I have a wide dream that there is somebody, some organization to which would do white hat paid editing, to whom I could redirect such requests, but unfortunately we doesn't have it, and it is harming the integrity of Wikipedia a lot. About conflicts of interest, well, we are all human beings. We don't live in the open space. We live in some country, in some city, in some neighborhood, work in some company, have some political views. So every editor is biased in some way and have a conflict of interest in some field. So there should not be restrictive measures. So you cannot edit this because you are affiliated in some way, because it would be fighting with windmills. Everybody has some conflict of interest. But the good practice is that we demand them to be transparent about it. If you are writing about your company, disclose that you work there. If you are writing about your city and don't want to include critics of it, disclose that you live there, and so on and so on.
I want to add to this. The interesting thing sometimes is not only about paid editing. Sometimes it's like a professor who says, okay, yes, I can help you with Wikipedia. I can add my CV on Wikipedia, and I don't want anyone else to touch it. This is a common problem. It's, I think, what Asaf said before about copyright sometimes. They have the same problem. They're like the people who don't exactly understand how Wikipedia works. It's like the same, the GLAM institutes, sometimes they say, okay, yes, I can give you my material, but not under free license.
Yeah.
And if you touch it, just delete it.
Yeah.
Yes, so materials, they need to be under free license. So +1 to Anton, and we had our history of such partnerships. So firstly, very often it's admitted that institutions, public institutions, that can be still a paid editing, and very often they are paid editing. In Poland, at least, we do something like a clear cut between, let's say, aligned institutions and, let's say, commercial activities, or I don't know, or regimes, or whatever. Basically something that is not aligned. With institutional partners that we want to work, we're trying to work, and everything is basically marked clearly that is provided by the institutional partner. Like the content is donated, or the people who are editing it, that they are being paid by the institutional partner. I was facilitating something like that once with actual editors who were being paid, and then they needed to create different accounts to highlight that everything is being basically covered by some educational partner who is having the basically country's money to donate knowledge to Wikipedia. And with these commercial things, we don't really have a good answer to it. I mean, we are taking the moral stance that we just don't touch it, but then this problem is coming from a different, with a window, as we can say.
I wanted to respond to Anton's, what Anton said. Sometimes I have a feeling that when you say transparency, we give up. Like when somebody mentions a transparency argument, that means, oh, we lost all our ways, we just say, be transparent, it's fine. And in that particular case, transparency is also very often not a solution. For example, sometimes, very often, I cannot say officially, I'm not allowed to say who I'm working for. I mean, there are conspiracy theories, but basically business organizations will say our contract is this. And sometimes you are writing against the interests of your client, like a kind of whistleblower. You have an access to some information, whereas public source you find, but you can easily relate. And in this situation, if you reveal you work for them, I mean, you are basically, killing everything. So, so transparency is sometimes a two-edged sword as well.
Thank you very much for the vivid discussion. I think I just want to say about Anton about the conflicts of interest. Well, each one of us, when it writes, of course, he has all our experience back, or our opinions, and of course, this is reflected in our articles, and we don't want to change this, because that's the beauty of the Wikipedia, that each one writes with his own belief. But we are mainly on, what the paid editing and the commercial thing. We cannot answer it. It's something that we have to. Just to manage it. It's there, we cannot avoid it, but it's our opportunity to, if we be proactive, then there will be no need for all these paid things, especially from the public institutions. Well, from the private, it's not so easy. Let's move on. I'm looking also the time. About the trust, bias, and community responsibility. So here is how we can see some systemic bias about gender gap or language barriers can be addressed ethically. What mechanism can build or damage trust in our content, especially in our regions, and how finally, what's the community's responsibility in dealing with misinformation campaigns or coordinated editings? Not actually the paid commercial, but with another attitude. I don't know if someone wants to start something here.
Okay, this is the initial of this discussion, for example, was the idea of the language barriers. For example, on English Wikipedia, we have like 6 or 7 different main English versions, let's say. And we had this discussion, are we going to write everything on American English or in British English? And they found a solution, like if the article is more about US, write on American English. It's more about Britain and United Kingdom, write in British English. It's more about India, write in Indian English. And this happens in many, many situations, also in our region, for example. And yeah.
I can say something about misinformation campaigns, not like campaigns, but from time to time there is some religion person who came on Macedonian Wikipedia and said, and create article about Sodom and Gomorrah. It was the latest one. I deleted and said, this is not, I mean, there was some photos. There were some photos saying, here is Sodom and here is Gomorrah. I had to search on the internet. I said, oh my God, they found the places. And yeah, it's misinformation, and I end up with being cursed by that religion person, said that I don't believe in God, that's why I delete this, and I don't know, I mean, it's a misinformation.
I don't want to share some solution, but just some very weird experience I had. I am from Italian Wikipedia, but I live in Tbilisi, so this is something real life experience. One day I was just in a bar and there were some guy using a laptop, strangely, and then approaching him more closer, I was seeing he was editing Wikipedia, but not just like reading, he was editing for real. So I became friend with this guy, and at some point he told me that he was a Russian expat because, you know, of the situation of the war. And at some point he told me that he was getting a grant from an organization, so an organization external from Wikipedia, not governmental, that had this goal of counter the Russian government propaganda about the war. So he was paid editing Wikipedia, not disclosing this, trying to protect Wikipedia. He was telling me he was, at least what he said, I don't know, aiming that he was doing everything according to the rules because he is an editor, but he accepted this kind of job. He accepted this kind of job before, like a paid editor, paid editing, before he was doing like for some commercial reason, like someone that, again, he assured me that all his customers were relevant for Wikipedia, so he accepted the job, and now he accepts this more like, let's say, humanitarian job. So this is a very wild and strange ecosystem out there of people doing every kind of conflict of interest, editing, paid, not paid, from one side, from the other. So it's very, I don't know. I wrote something about this in my Wikipedia, in my community, and I was doing this metaphor about, if you are familiar with this Western movie, Italian-American, very famous, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. There are, you know, the good people, the good guys, the Wikipedia editor, and the bad people that want to put propaganda in it. And then I just found that there are also some ugly people, that they are doing something strange, they are doing something good, but, or at least they pretend to be, but they are not exactly the good guys. So I don't know, there is a lot of kaleidoscope, a lot of range of things, not just people that want to disrupt Wikipedia and people that want to defend it. It is shadow, gray area.
Yeah, well, when we say about the misinformation, just campaign, sometimes it might be. Huh? No, it's okay. But just to say that when we say misinformation campaign, it's something that it might be, for us, it might be something not correct, or maybe it's a misinformation, and for someone else, it's something that he actually believes it. It's depending on our beliefs and opinions, and sometimes we are on this tricky that you say, for example, for the COVID and the vaccines that we said, yeah, it's a very big discussion. Some people really believe the one or the other way. Yeah.
Very quickly. About neutrality, about the previous topic. Neutrality is not exactly like, it cannot be just balanced by countering not neutrality information with opposite sign information. Like, if I will do another metaphor. If you are drinking something very bitter and you add sugar, it does not counter the bitterness. It will be bitter and sweet. So it's not just this. Yeah.
Thank you very much. It is probably partially a kind of comment on the two questions, but also it could be kind of an answer or just a thought process. Regarding misinformation campaigns, I don't believe that these two words fits well. It is usually disinformation campaigns, there is intent there. For misinformation campaigns, I believe that all communities are already doing the best with the principles, reliable sources and citation and all these things. So this question is connected with the one for the mechanisms. The unreliable sources list registers and tools like automated or bots or things that are utilized. This is something that is really helping and increasing trust because it's transparent. For Bulgarian, the Bulgarian examples with unreliable sources list is that every source is discussed. Of course, there is some increase and during election campaigns, for example, so there are a lot of conversations and they're transparent, archived, and easy to find. To systemic bias is probably from my perspective from the civil society organization, it is that you are looking for partners in non-governmental organizations or advocacy groups to bring people and to create awareness. So thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, thank you very much. Just looking at the time, so I'm going to the next issue. I think it's about generative AI and the future of editing. These are so many questions. I don't think that we have also the time now. We have about 2 or 3 minutes.
We discuss this
in extent. Just have a thought about how we should editors be allowed to use AI-generated text, what the accuracy about handle images or media generated by AI. I'm going to speed up and just give you at the end the speech, and of course about educational partnership, how we can teach students and new editors of all these things that I want to train them in the future Wikipedians for the partnerships and incorporate the ethical awareness. I don't know, we can have time for 1 or 2 questions, maybe on one of these two, if someone wants to say something. Yeah, 1 or 2. Yeah.
This a little, again, not exactly about editing with AI, because we noticed recently, very recently, some people is actually using AI to talk, like they are giving us answering with AI, and this, a part of the content of the answer, a part of the behavior of these editors, if they are doing something good or bad, like communication between humans through AI, I think is not something very ethical. Like, I'm not talking with you. I am talking what you said to the machine to tell me, and I don't feel I'm doing something nice.
So because I'm looking the time, I would like to thank you all. You can use Etherpad if you want to add some more comments, ideas and thoughts. And of course, just for the end, we have some ethical dilemmas. We weren't
For more fun.
For more fun, you can share these with your own communities, discuss them, and of course, we are welcome to have some the feedback to give you about the AI without sources, the conflicts of interest in academia, the specific case studies that we have created for you. The idea is that we give you at the end of this session, not to discuss them now, and we are very welcome if we have your thoughts from your communities and share with us so we can work on this issue more. Well, we thank you very much. I think now we go to the group photo. And don't forget.
Okay, we have Markilos making an important announcement. Markilos is the person who does this important announcement. So.
I told him to tell you that we all gather now in front of the hotel to take our group photo.
Oh.
And then lunch. Oh. Thank you.
More fun. Εντάξει, τρίαμβος.
Αυτό εδώ πέρα δεν ξέρω τι είναι.
Το βάζουν έτσι, το βάζουν αυτοί. Έτσι για φάση.